Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to try and explain for beginners the need for extra stitches. A lot of people will say to me, Alison, why do you say a stitch count of 3 plus an extra 2 stitches? Or why do you say plus 1 extra or plus 7? Most patterns will have a stitch count to make up the pattern. So for this little pattern that I've been doing, my stitch count is 2. And that is stitch 1, skip 1. So that's 2. And what I had to do to keep the correct number of stitches, I had to add some extra at the beginning when I done my chain. So I kept the correct stitch count. I'll show you what I mean. Now let's say you need 10 stitches. Now I'm going to stick with doing a UK double crochet, that's a single crochet in the USA, and a UK treble crochet, which is a USA double crochet. Now when you just stick with these simple stitches, when you do a UK double crochet, that's a single in the USA, you only need to add 1 stitch to your chain. If you're just making a blanket any size. When it's a UK treble crochet, which is a USA double crochet, you need to add 2 extra stitches to keep your stitch count. I'm going to show you why. When you do a chain and you start your first row, you will lose a couple of your stitches. So let's say we need a stitch count of 10. So I'm going to chain 10 to show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now I'm just going to do a square. So I want to have 10 stitches. I've done 10 chains. So I'm going to go into my stitch. You can't go into your very first stitch because your yarn won't work if you do this. See, you end up with it just all twisted. So what you've got to do when you start your chain, you've got to go into the second stitch. So let's just do a row of UK double crochet, that's USA single crochet, and see how many stitches we end up with. Now you might be thinking, well, you did a chain of 10, so you should have 10 stitches. But we won't. We'll only have 9 because we lose one of the stitches doing that very first one. I'll show you that in a moment. Let me get to the end of this chain. Now this was the most confusing thing for me. And whenever I was doing something, I was always short in stitches and I just could not understand why. And even I used to go on to YouTube and say to the person, you're telling me to chain that. Why have I only got 9 stitches? Why have I only got 12 stitches? I should have 13 or I should have whatever. It's because you're losing a stitch. Now let's count our stitches. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. We only have 9 even though we did a chain of 10 because that's me, I've got my 10 in my chain. We lost that very first stitch because we went in to that second stitch. We lost that one. So if you want to have 10 stitches or 20 or 29, when you're doing a UK double crochet, it's a USA single, you have to add 1 extra stitch. So to have 10 stitches, you have to have 11 on your chain. So I'll show you now. We're going to go into that second stitch here. Now we're going to lose that one. That's our extra stitch. So when we go down the chain, we should have 10 now. So we're going to go into that second stitch. When you do this smaller stitch, we'll go down our chain. I'll go down quickly. And we should have 10 this time. And that is why we add your extra stitches. And not a lot of people tell you that when you're a beginner, explaining these extra stitch counts. Now when you're doing this smaller stitch, it's only 1 yard extra. But when you're doing a UK treble crochet, that's a USA double, you have to add 2 extra because it's a bigger stitch. I'll show you that in a moment. So now we're going to count our stitches. To count your stitches, you count the V's at the top of your work. Now that's my loop. So there's my first stitch there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So to keep your stitch count, that's why you add an extra 1 when you're doing this small double or single crochet. Now what we'll do is, I'll take it out because I've messed these stitches around a bit. I'll chain another 10. Now we're going to do a UK treble crochet. That's a USA double. It's a bigger stitch. So we have to add 2 extra to that because the stitch is bigger. So I'm going to do my chain of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Now I'm going to add an extra 2. 1 and 2. We're going to go into the 4th stitch in the chain. So those 3, they're the 2 extra, and that 1 is going to make that first stitch. And the thing a lot of people don't understand as well when they first begin, when you go into your 1, 2, 3, 4th stitch, you're creating 2 stitches. So yarn over and into the 4th stitch. And as you can see, those 2 extra stitches and that 3rd one has made 1 stitch, and we've created the 2nd stitch. So when we went into our 4th stitch in the chain, we actually created 1 and 2 stitches. So now when I go down there, I should have 10. I should have 10, even though we added 2 extra to make our stitch count on the chain 12, we should have 10 stitches. So I'm doing my last one in my chain. And make sure you're not working into the knot. Sometimes beginners will work into the knot. You don't want to do that. So now we can easily count the stitches. They're bigger. 1 here on the side. I'll take my hook out. I actually went away on holiday for a little while, and I've left my brand new ebony crochet hooks, those lantern moon ones. I've left them behind, but I'll get them the next time I go back to my friend's place. So I've got 1 stitch here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, even though we did 12 stitches. I'll explain that one more time. When I take this out, I should have 12. So I've got my 12. I'll take 1 and 2 out. So that's my chain of 10. So if I was to go in to the 4th stitch, I would be losing 3 stitches out of my stitch count, and I would only end up with 6 or 7 stitches. We don't want that. We want to have 10 or whatever number it is. So we're going to add our 2. And those two, and we've got 10 here, we're not going to go into the third stitch because that means we'll end up with a tiny little stitch here and a bigger one, and we'll end up with 11 stitches. When you're doing this size of stitch, you go add 2 and always go into the fourth stitch. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that's the 2 extra we added. And we've got 2 here from the 10, the third and the fourth one. When we go into the fourth one, as you can see, we're creating 2 stitches. 2 stitches, 1 and 2. And that is why you add 2 extra stitches, so that you have that height for that first stitch and it doesn't take away from the stitch count. And when you're doing a UK treble crochet or a USA double, it always creates 2 stitches at the beginning. And that's what keeps your stitch count correct. So if I continue down there, I again would have my 10 stitches that I need for my project. And that is why we add extra stitches, because the extra stitches get used up making your very first stitch. When you add extra stitches to a pattern, it's usually to keep it symmetrical so that you end up with the same pattern on this side as this side. But it's harder to explain that because lots of different patterns have extra stitch counts, different stitch counts. So if you are doing a UK double crochet or a USA single crochet and you're just needing 10, 20, whatever amount of stitches, add 1 extra and go into the second chain. Go into the second stitch in your chain. And if you're doing a UK treble crochet, which is a USA double crochet, always add 2 extra and go into the fourth stitch in your chain, and that'll create the correct amount of stitches. And that's why we're using either 1 or 2 extra stitches in your chain, so you don't lose your stitch count. So I hope that's explained a little bit to the beginners who've been asking me, why do you add either 1 or 2 extra stitches? And then they'll say, I don't have enough stitches, what am I doing wrong? It's you have to add either 1 or 2 extra. And you either go into the second chain or the fourth chain with your stitches to keep your stitch count correct. So I hope that's helped a little bit. If you're making something and it doesn't matter about the stitch count whatsoever, then it doesn't matter. But if you're doing something where you need a certain amount of stitches, then if it's the small stitch, single double crochet, that's UK and USA, it's 1 stitch extra, go into the second stitch in your chain. If you're doing a UK treble crochet, which is a USA double crochet, which is a taller stitch, then you'll add 2 extra and go into the fourth stitch in your chain. Even if you're doing a scarf of 20 stitches and you're using a UK treble crochet, which is a USA double, it's the same stitch. I know that we call it something different, but it is the same stitch. Then you'll need 22 stitches and go into the fourth stitch in your chain. And once you've done that, you'll have your 20 stitches. So whatever amount of stitches that you need, if you're just doing basic single or double crochet, and in the UK that is double or treble crochet, you need to add either 1 stitch or 2 stitches to keep your stitch count correct. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that's helped explain the extra stitch count on crochet. Please subscribe to the channel. It's completely free to subscribe to the channel, and then you can subscribe to anyone's channel on YouTube. It's only a few short steps. You just click on that subscribe and it'll tell you how to do it. Then if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. They'll send you a little notification and they'll tell you, but only if you click on that bell. If you don't want a notification, then don't click on the bell. And if you do want to be notified when your favourite YouTuber puts up a new video, then click on the bell underneath their video. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.